thank you once again for tuning in to another exciting episode of the iConis podcast. As usual, I'm one of your hosts, Barry 3D. Carter, you know the joke. Hey, how you doing? On my side, the man, the myth, the legend, the one that's got the tables rocking all night long and keeps you going like more than the Energizer battery. My friend, my cousin, the one and only
DJ Rod C. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode. We got something for you, something different, something familiar. Nah, it's different. You gonna like this. You gonna like this one. That's what I'm gonna say. You gonna like this one. Yeah. You will.
That's the plan. That's the plan. With the plan, manners make it the man, and we just got to go through and do our shoutouts real quick. So first and foremost, remember, we are now part of the Subculture Podcast Network. Keep an eye out for us and all the other podcasts that are part of that network and spread it around. We're okay being your second favorite podcast. How's that? We want to be your second favorite podcast. Keep your first. Let us be second. Anyone else can come in on that show. Good. All right, cool. On top of that, if you got to go out and do something, you want to start buying books to see some of the characters we talk about. For our friends over here in Ontario, go and check out, make a trip down to Kitchener. Huge store. Go and check out Wild Comics with our friend Wes. Tell them you heard about them on the iConis podcast. They'll say hi and they'll definitely hook you up. For our friends out in Montreal, please make a trip down over to the South Shore and go and check out Check Swings. That comic store. Tell Trevor and the rest of the guys we said hi. They will appreciate it. And we're still waiting for some of you to send in pictures of your favorite comic book stores so we can see comic book stores from around the world. All right. On top of that, another fan of the show and friend of the show is Miss Brandy Ford. She has her show magazine, The Writer and the Wit, that is out, and she has her show on 4680.q. So 4680q.com, and the show comes on Mondays and Wednesdays at 2:00 and then at noon on Saturday. So, and it's also on Spotify. So there you go. Links down below. On top of that, as I said, I do stand-up comedy. If you want to see where I'm going to be at, what's going on in my life, check out barry3d.com. And when I'm not running solo and I'm with my other comedy troupe I'm a part of, that's A Touch of Gray Matter. So keep an eye out for myself, Dave Sokolowski, and Zolf Ali. We are A Touch of Gray Matter. We have a lot of fun. We're doing some shows here and there and everywhere. United we stand. Now, for our friends, if you want to turn around and hold on, before I even do that, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me. You can find me on the World Wide Web, as I say. You can find me on Instagram at Mr. Rod C. You can find me in the world of twitch.tv/DJ Rod C. You also can find me in the world of TikTok. You can find me at DJ Rod C1. That's DJ Rod C1. That's where you'll find me. Let's go. Now, just getting down to the end of it, you too, if you're sitting at home and you say, hey, these guys have a lot of fun at their podcast, I want to do a podcast. Well, you got to do what we do. First, you got to go over to Podbean. You go to Podbean, and that's where you can start your podcast journey. And it's simple, it's easy, and it's not too expensive. You're good to go. I know some things are really expensive. This one, you're good. And if you want to find us, we are on there as iconis.podbean.com. That's where you can find our show. And of course, if you're going to do a show like that, you need to have some graphic work. And the best thing to do is find a graphic artist. Don't have to look for one. We got one for you. Who are we talking about, Rod? J Bird Digital Art.
Mr. Jason Reese, J Bird Digital Arts. He is the graphic designer worldwide. He's got work on everything. So please hit him up. Let him know you heard about him on the iConis podcast, and he will give you a discount on the work. Make a saving somewhere because Christmas is around the corner. No time like the present.
100%.
Well, now it brings us to the end of the month. Here we are, the end of November. We've gone through our theme of military. And this, we're doing our Remembrance Month instead of Remembrance Day, but it should be all year round to thank the troops who made the sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice, to fight for our freedoms. We can wake up and be safe and sound in our own homes. We thank you. We thank you a lot for everything you do. And even though we don't see it all, we thank you for it. So that's all we have to say on that. And special shout out to our number one fan, John. We do this one in your honor. Once again, thank you, sir, for your service. Okay. So in this month, we have covered the Unknown Soldier. Right? Gotcha. Then we got back a little bit Home Patriot with a super soldier, then Canuck. Right on. Then we took it in a different direction And we wanted to give you some realism, and that was the NAM by Marvel Comics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we figured, hey, we've done a lot of ground stuff military. Now it's time for aerial assault. So with that said, on today's episode of the iConis podcast, we are talking about, sit with it, Rod.
Blackhawk. Blackhawks. Put the plural. Blackhawks. Let's go.
There's Blackhawk and Blackhawks.
You know,
we're going to start off that journey with Blackhawk.
Hawk.
That's right, Blackhawk. So this started way back. So how far back? Well, we're going to go with that. So Blackhawk made its original debut in 1941 in August. Wow! And it ran from 1941 up to 1956 under Quarterly Comics. Now, why did it stop in 1956? Very simple. DC don't create, they acquire. From there, DC Comics turned around and acquired Blackhawk and, of course, other characters. And that comic book series from 1957 to present day.
Now.
It's still going in different variations up to now. And it's gone from Blackhawk, Blackhawks, Lady Blackhawk, with the mention of, Birds of Prey. So you read the Birds of Prey by Gail Simone, and you'll see Lady Blackhawk in there is teaming up with them. She's had her solo adventures, but she's part of that team. But where did that team come from? Well, this is what it comes down to. So they made their first appearance in Military Comics, issue number 1, back in 1941 in August, under Quarterly Comics. This team consisted, and it had a changing roster most of the time. So it started off with 5, and then it went to 7, it was 8, and it kind of went back down to 7. So, but it has some main characters, but there's some mystery behind it. Mystery. So the mystery is Blackhawk. So what you'd see is they are an air squadron. They fly a particular type of plane. They were out during World War II, and it was like a United Nations of Air Force. I will date myself. If you ever watched the movie Megaforce, cheesy movie, but I love it. It was here it is. So Megaforce, in a nutshell, was a military, elite soldier group with advanced technology, pretty much like G.I. Joe. They had a representative from each place that the United Nations represent from all over the world and fight terrorism. That was a concept of Megaforce. It was campy. I loved it. All right, there we go. Sure, Blackhawk was like this. So the whole thing with Blackhawk is, before we get into the storyline of that, so Blackhawk was really made by Chuck Sidera with influences by Bob Powell, and the name I recognized right away was Will Eisner. Who's Will Eisner, you're saying? Well, if you remember the comic book The Spirit, Will Eisner was the creator of The Spirit. Yes, I know they did a movie with Samuel L. Jackson and some other people, and it was Frank Miller who kind of turned around and did it in a Sin City kind of way, so it was already that black and white with the red tie. And there's other movies after that or before that of The Spirit, but that's Will Eisner's work, which is, well-renowned for what he's done for that character. But we're talking about Blackhawk. So Blackhawk came around. So Blackhawk, all that team was dressed in black aviation outfits. They had on the caps. Blackhawk, who's the commander, was the only one that had an emblem on his chest of a black. It was almost like Hawkman symbol to a degree. But that's what he looked like, and that's what he found. And he had different people from all over the world, right? So there's the whole story with Blackhawk is he was in a plane fighting during World War II. There was another pilot that he started fighting, and he turned around and he started dogfighting. He ended up, even though his plane was damaged, he shot down 6 other planes. And then his plane finally got shot down. It crashed. They all thought he died. He survived. Surprise! And then he's running back to his village in Poland. And while he's running back to the small town in Poland to the farm that his family owned, the commander of the squadron that he was fighting turned around and bombed that barn, henceforth killing his sister and injuring his brother. I hope I didn't get that backwards. Yes, killing his sister and injuring his brother. So it was very almost like a Snake Eyes kind of thing where you're losing family members from how G.I. Joe was. And he turned around and said, okay, he wants vengeance. And then he goes away, and about a month later, you see him over in England, and he's joining the Royal, the RAF, the Royal Air Force. right? So in the UK, the Royal Air Force, that's what he's going to join. And he's trying to get in there to, of course, join. And he meets other people. One person was like a sidekick that he studied with, and he was a renowned pilot himself. And that's how he went on. And then that wasn't working out for him. They couldn't get into the Royal Air Force. So the original story was him and a couple of guys got together who were ace pilots, saved their own money, bought the planes that they use, painted them, put the emblem on there, and that's how Blackhawk started. So Blackhawk, even though it was a comic and it was a team, it was one man. The rest of them all had their own names. And the joke is, and it's gone back and forth, right? So Blackhawk himself, at the very beginning, was known as Polish. He was a Polish background.
Yep.
And then they made it, he said he was Polish American, and they went back, oh, he's Polish, but he moved to America. So his origin changes. What we never get is his name. We know him as Blackhawk. There's no name, right? Is he Philip? Is he Steve? Is he Barry? Is he Rod? No, we never get his name in all this running. It was always, he got the name at one point. They tried to give him a name real quickly, but it didn't seem to stick. But we never really had an official name. Right? And now that got me thinking, it's almost like a secret society. Now, you would see Blackhawk has made appearances in Justice League Unlimited cartoon. You see the Blackhawk team, there was a 3-part crossover where they're time traveling with fighting Vandal Savage, and they had to fight the Wheels of Destruction, or the Wheel of, which one of these masked things. This was from the Blackhawk comic. So when you see the planes and you see that giant wheel, the war wheel, there we go. That was from the Blackhawk comic. That whole idea came from. So they show you how dated ideas can still resurface and be tangible. And Bruce Timm and the team made that so much fun. On top of that, have you seen Blackhawk in live action? And I'm jumping back and forth. I want to say yes, but he wasn't his traditional self. Rod, do you know where he showed up live action?
Let me see. I don't. You know what? Let me go with no. No.
Okay.
Educate me. Where
educate you. He showed up in season 1, was it season 2? Anyway, 1 and 2 of Arrow. Stephen Amell. The only thing is, he retired from the army and he started his own group, Blackhawk Protection, but they were criminals. They were it was a group of them using their military savvy to rob armored trucks in Arrow. So he was totally out of character. Right? That was the closest we got of Blackhawk being represented live action.
Got it.
At the time. So that was a twist. We'll just leave that at that. Totally off. We know he was military. They kind of go with that kind of thing, but that's as far as it goes. So, as I said, let me go down. So you had Blackhawk, who was the leader of the team, right? And then you had Stanlisis, who was his right-hand man, ace pilot. Also on the team, you had Andre, right? And then, of course, now some of it, keep in mind, it's dated, okay? 1940s, all right. They had an Asian on the team, and his name was Chop Chop. Okay, moving. We had another person named Chuck. We had another person named Hendrickson. And finally, Olaf. So, you had someone that was, Swedish. You had someone that was Japanese. You had Polish. You had British, French. All these. It was literally the UN put together this team, or they put it together themselves. And later on, you get Lady Blackhawk. Now, she had 3 different names. There was 3 different women that represented that and took that title. But that was Lady Blackhawk who came across later on in the issues. So that comic ran for so long. So it was, the original runs like over 200 issues. Like easy. 250, Blackhawk ran, and it's one of the longest running comics under a single name, single run, all these years. And then of course it changed to Blackhawks and so forth like that. So that was it. Did you read any of the Blackhawk comics, Rod?
For this I did read some, And, finding out that, because it was very, like you said, Air Squadron and stuff along that line. So that was it. I wasn't really pulled into that. And that was me personally. That's why I never really picked up on Blackhawk back in the days. But watching it now with a different, with a different eye, different sight, thinking about, the theme for this month. Oh yeah, it makes you just realize, like, how futuristic it was at that time. Because even then, with the research, you start to find out that when this was at the height in the 1940s, like, they routinely, they were like one of the top selling comics at the time. The only thing that beat them was Superman. Let that sink in for a second. Let that sink in, just to show you that time, that definitely, the popularity for it definitely pulled in a lot of kids, a lot of young people who enjoyed it, having the aerial type of, dogfighting aspirations and stuff in that regard. They definitely, lean into it very nicely. And that was one of the reasons why they're able to pull out over 200 different issues, and basically making a very top paying, a top selling comic to this day.
Absolutely. That's what blows my mind, is when you read it, you're like, how many issues did they have? Like 250 something issues. I mean, it was a lot, and still going on up to now. I look at it, it's like how and I said it before, right now we have Call of Duty and other video games, Rainbow Six, so forth, like that act as a somewhat game, but somewhat army military recruiter. Back then, you had to go to an office, you had someone out there meeting the people, saying, hey, join the military, join the army, join the Navy, join the Air Force, right? Video games have now replaced that. They play it, and they're like, oh, this is cool, I'm going to join the military. And then, of course, it makes them more savvy, because now when they get in there, they're hardcore into playing these games. They understand what these weapons look like. They might not understand, they might not know how it feels holding it. But they can identify like a Desert Eagle to an AK-47 to whatever guns, rifles, or whatever, and the capabilities. They know which gun, how many bullets it holds, the magazine, if you can upgrade it or not. And these are all real specs. So they know right away, have said, hey, here's your rifle. If you got an old school soldier, like, all right, here's a rifle, to someone today who just joined the army, he's going to go, oh yeah, this rifle carries this many rounds with this much range. Right. It can do this much. It's got piercing damage. If I put it on this setting, it can do this. It can go automatic, semi-automatic. And the old school soldier will be like, how'd you know? Did you read a book? Call of Duty, sir. Follow what? Rainbow Six, sir. No, rainbows have more than 6 colors, right? It's gonna throw it off. So this was a totally different spin on that we finally, we've had ground combat, and I know there's other comics we did not cover, and it's just because of lack of time, and we'll cover those definitely in the future. Yeah. But it's gone from infantry to vehicle combat, sea, land, air, sea, Navy SEALs kind of thing, and now we're covering air. So it made it interesting that, at the time, flying a plane, dogfighting, as you put it, had another, pilot always has a certain air about them. I don't mean like they're conceited. It's just like you see a pilot and you're like, oh, that's cool. You do something. Like, pilots have their uniforms. You walk in, you say, hey, I'm a pilot. They got the pilot jackets. They got the goggles, right? You picture them with a white scarf and a leather jacket with a fur inside collar. It's a certain level of skill and knowledge that are needed to be pilot. But of course, on top of it, they have their ground skills too. I mean, in case of the plane goes down, they have their basic military training, depending on which branch they're coming from. And most of the time, it's the Navy, right? The Navy or Air Force, under which division. So this makes it really, really interesting. And it's a different take on it. And they're using things that exist. Like the planes that they used were planes that existed. It was the Grumman XF-5F Skyrocket. That was a plane that they used in the comic book. They didn't try to modify it. They drew it as is. All they did was change the color scheme to like black and orange or all black, and they put the symbol on that plane. That was their plane. And that first flight of that plane happened in 1940 of April 1st. They retired the plane December 11th of 1944. United States, so its primary user was intended by the United States Navy, and it had like different variants, right? This was what this whole thing came about. So why they picked that particular plane? Right, why not? This is how comics come in and bring things to life at the time. It's just like how video games take certain things and bring it into life. You know, what you might see as experimental today could be reality tomorrow. Just a lot there to unpack. I like this, man. It makes it, you know, once again, you're seeing, oh, this is a cool plane. So at the time, you see the plane, you see the draw for the military, you see the outfits, which, if you look at the styles, that was a style for a pilot. I'm not saying all black, but I'm just saying like how the shape of the pants were, the boots and their jackets, the gloves, the hat.
Like that. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was there from the get-go, you know. And as I said, it really got me that we never got his name. Like, to, you know, what's his name? I don't know. No, we just call him Blackhawk. He was a tough commander, but his troops would go to the ends of the earth for him. A little bit of a hothead sometimes, but he had the loyalty behind his troops. You know, that squadron.
Mm-hmm.
How they put it together, and their base of operations was Blackhawk Island, which, once again, it was in the Atlantic, you know, Ocean. It was in the Atlantic Ocean. There's Blackhawk Island, and they had their airstrips and their base and, you know, anything they needed, their mess hall, the whole 9 yards on this secret island that at the time they say they were funding themselves. I got theories. It's very reminiscent, and I don't know, and I can't prove it. I really don't know. Maybe someone out there knows. Was Blackhawk, in a way, an influence for the creation of Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow?
Listen, I wanted to segue to that movie at some point.
Sorry, my bad. Go ahead, man.
No, it's perfect because you're absolutely correct. Like, you can see the similarities. You can see, at least if you want to get the most modern type of visual representation of Blackhawks, it would be Sky Captain and for tomorrow. That would be it for me. If anybody watched it, we spoke about that. We talked about it.
Yes, we have.
So if you get a chance, go back and listen to that podcast, check out that video, and you'll just see where we were referencing off of that. But you can see that the whole idea for that time frame was in the 1940s, literally at the end of World War II. So you can see the similarities, and you can see that the futuristic ideas that the wheel of the
war wheel? The
war wheel.
War wheel.
Yeah. War wheel. But there was another one. There was another
oh, I mean the robots you're talking?
Yes. I'm trying to pull it up, but I'm just trying to find it here. I know.
Are you talking about the robots in Sky Captain?
No, not in Sky Captain, but in Blackhawk.
Oh yeah, wheel of war. I know they had the shark.
Yes, that was
shark. Yeah,
like the robot shark kind of scenario.
Yes,
and just to come with that kind of concept, you can clearly see if you segue to Sky Captain, you will see very futuristic, robotic type of imagery and ideas, but it also had that kind of, robotic shark, war, wheel of war kind of scenarios, like, Doom War, like Doom Wheel kind of scenario. Like, okay, that's a little far fetched, but that can actually work. That can actually work. Yeah. So you can see the similarities on that. So yeah, Blackhawk had those type of, not enemies, but those type of situations that they had to overcome, that you can see, like, saying, very able to draw in children, drawing people with, like, wow, that's nice. I never thought of making a robotic shark. Yes, now you have. Sleep well. Sleep well, little Timmy.
Well, little Timmy, you got a project on Monday. True. And so the whole thing is, they were an independent fighting force, freedom force, dealing with anyone that's trying to go against the United Countries. end of World War II. They're still dealing with the Condor. I think it was Condor. King Condor was one of their reoccurring main enemies, right? They had to deal with the war wheel. They had to deal with that shark force. They had to deal with, another variation of someone made flying tanks. So it was really pushing the boundaries of imagination. But he never knew their name. So we knew that every person in Blackhawks is military trained. We know that each of them do have their specialty. So one could be a sniper, one's an ace pilot out of the ace pilot. Clearly, Blackhawk is a leader that instills loyalty, and he's there for his men. He goes the extra 9 yards. So it had a lot of the good elements for that, making that team. They were more, there was an elite team for dogfighting. Had the planes. Over the years, they've kind of gone up. The last time I read something about them personally is that they had something in their honor where it was before the New 52 universe. They had, when Lex Luthor was running for president in the Superman comic books, he turned around at one point and he made an Air Force because he wanted to fight the invasion. And he made a special type of plane to help design a plane because Luthor's also a genius that can fly on, in our atmosphere or head out to outer space. And the whole force was called Blackhawk. So it was a futuristic look on their plane and trying to almost bring them back. That was kind of a cool run. So with this in the original one, here's a couple of things that I try to always I love world building and I try to fill in the gaps. So one, why would we not know the name of Blackhawk? We know he's Polish. That's all we get. We never find out his name. So obviously his name had to be hidden for a reason. So my little world building self, how I put things together is you have to hide a name if it's going to harm your family. Like, this is why superheroes have secret identities.
Right.
I don't see what I kind of turn around and say, okay, that one I didn't catch was the fact that how'd you get a plane? Like, I can't go and buy a plane, let alone 7 or 8. How much money, even in today's standards, back then standards, you're saving up and you're buying state-of-the-art planes, but you just seem to be average Joes. You ain't got the pocketbooks for that, cuz. So that never made sense to me. You had to be sponsored by somebody. So I always thought one of two scenarios. One, they're sponsored by maybe a secret group within the government. Like, in the American, they got the Star Chamber, and these military things that would get together and say, okay, we're operating out of means. We recruited this person. Your job is you never tell anybody you take orders from somebody else. We give you a budget. We found you a deserted island.
Yep.
Here you go. Make it happen. There's certain things that we can't do, but we need to have someone ready. Almost like Canada has its own secret military team, and you never see their faces. You'll never you see them doing exercises, but you never see their faces. Their identities are completely secret from the general public and even others. Only certain people. Every time they're out in public, they wear a mask. You will never know what they look like. Right? They just show up to say, "Yeah, we're a secret military. We are the Canadian version of GI Joe."
Right.
Okay, that's all you're gonna see. All of them wearing masks, and they walk away. You're like, "Wow, got it." Okay. Each nation has that. So I'm thinking someone from there, let's say it could be American, maybe it was Poland, maybe it was a couple of nations got together, put together and say, hey, here's a budget. We like you. You're dedicated. We're going to redact everything that has your name on it. So there's never going to be a paper trail connecting you to Blackhawks. You don't wear a mask. So you go back, and if you look at his origin, Barn, he seems to come from humble means, right? If he's running back to a farm to see his family farm or family barn, then clearly they do some type of farming. His sister is dead, brother badly injured. I'm assuming, because you never hear talk about it, that the parents must have passed away at this point. So if he's the only one and not have any really extended family or connected to any aunts or uncles or anything like that, then he never has to worry about showing his face because no one's really going to recognize him and go, oh, there he is. Maybe he was a quiet kid, a loner kid in school. So it's not to say that he was the popular kid in school, because people would recognize his face if they see him, right?
Right.
Take that. He goes with whatever budget, and he gives the other soldiers the story of, hey guys, we save up and buy some planes and do our own thing. Yeah, wink, wink. By the way, you put in $1. For every dollar you put in, I'll put in 10,000. You know what I mean? He's
Right.
like, sir, we only have between me and the guys, we raised $30. Don't worry about it. I got 30 million. So now we have 30 million and $30.
Right.
Right? We bought the plane. Wink, wink. Sorry, we take orders from anybody? No. What's your name? Blackhawk. Okay, what's your name? Blackhawk. Right? That's the West Indian coming out there because I always say, right? In anytime you go to the West Indies, you'll have family and you'll know them by their nicknames, but you'll never know their government name. And the time they mention their government name, you're like,
you're confused.
Yeah.
You're confused. What?
Yeah. My cousin Fuzzy. I know Fuzzy for Fuzzy as years. One time he called me up and told me his real name, and I was like, not shaking my head going, no. I'm like, I didn't know who it was. He was on the phone. I was like, no, it's your cousin. Uh-huh. Give me his name. What? Okay, sure. Yeah. There's family I don't remember or haven't met, maybe. And Barry, oh, wait a minute. You know me as Fuzzy. Oh, Fuzzy, what's going on, man? I take my tone totally changed. I can own up to that. So he went and just call me Blackhawk, and they went, okay. You're gonna call him Blackhawk? Yo, he just paid for the planes. I want to fly. Yeah. If he wants to be called Shirley Temple, I'll call him Shirley Temple. He got me a plane. He got us an island. He got us uniforms. Yeah, whatever. Right? Good. And we're good. So this is what he got. I think that he got that money from somewhere. And so that's one of my theories I have there. Or he had someone sponsor him independently.
Right.
You know, like another businessman that says, hey, you know what? I want to do something for my country. I'm too old to enlist. I'm too old to fight.
Right.
But my money, I got beaucoup bucks.
Right.
If you could form a team, almost like Knight Rider. Remember the TV show Knight Rider?
100%.
Right? Okay. The guy was there. He's like, well, yeah, the Knight Industries, that's all my company. My son passed away. I'm going to get an operation, make you look like my son. I'm going to give you this experimental car. We're going to, give you all this. Go there and fight crime, because crime is what someone in criminal element killed my son. And I want you to go and fight crime with all my resources. And that's how I give back.
All right, let's go, kid. Let's go. And that'll be it.
So that's what I think would be more plausible for you. I mean, what's your theories on that?
I'm honestly with that kind of theory as well, because if you want to think of it, you went with the Knight Foundation. That's a good one. I would then even bring it down for DC. It's like a Bruce Wayne. It's an Oliver Queen type of, have the money. This is more like if we were to put it in a what if situation. If Oliver Queen he still had his inheritance. He had his family fortune, but he couldn't be the Green Arrow. Let me fund somebody. Bruce, someone took his family. I just don't have the mental capacity to be a crime fighter or something, but I got buku money. I'm going to invest in someone to do that. So we'll just have to look at it in that standpoint. Yeah, I can definitely see from that aspect that thought process of having someone who can finance it. I mean, you can even step back and even say, like, say there are a couple of countries, France, Poland, U.S., because those are at least the three ones that interacted that have been named in Blackhawk. So why cannot those countries come together separate on their own without the sanction of the UN, and they're on their own and just start, here's an account, withdraw from this, use this. Now those are back in those days, use this checkbook and make the proper deposit, make the proper withdrawal, and you're good to go. Okay. So either storyline is possible. So I could definitely say is one of the things that, in the 40s, in the early days, no one's going to try to question where does the person get the finance for that. But if we're going to kind of think of it from now standpoint, someone's going to ask that question. So let's be prepared and say the funds came from a different organization, or I'm even going to go. I'm gonna go with, well, it's a trade-off of the government part. Trying to remember the name of the corporation. $6 million man. I've been watching some stuff, so that it's just down in my head. The ISO, that's right. I know O was in there. Yeah, ISO. So think of the ISO, which is basically similar, right off a segue branch off, like the Knight Foundation. Same kind of thing. So government, personal, privately owned. Listen, funds are out there. Someone's willing to put the money into it. Congratulations. Let's go.
Let's go is right. Okay, and it's a lot. I'm looking up just the training for a pilot. So pretty much you've got, obviously you're going to understand science, physics to a certain degree, right? You're going to get trained in basic hand-to-hand combat,
right?
Weapon training, So hand-to-hand combat, weapon training, survival training to a certain degree, because as expensive as the planes are, planes can't fly themselves. So if the plane gets shot down, this is why they put the parachutes in the plane. If the pilot survives and he gets back, you're not losing that knowledge, a skill,
experience,
training that the country's invested in him.
100%.
You can always give him another plane, but it takes long. It's faster to build a plane than train a pilot.
Right.
So you already have hand-to-hand, small weapons training. You might have long weapon training, survival skills, those basic things. Okay, that's one. Then you got to get into conditioning. So it's a lot of physical conditioning. So this when you're flying, you can take certain arcs, you can hit G forces. Okay, that's another part of your training. And then of course navigation. Navigating with the basic tools and instruments, because if all the nice gadgets and jewels go down on your plane, you got to go and start navigating by stars and figuring this out, 100%. Or a good old compass, which points true north, magnetic north, and figure where you need to go. You got to calculate wind speeds and then get into fighting. You got to get into dogfighting. Look, we've all seen the movie Top Gun. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Right.
We get that. And that was the elite. That was the 1% out of all that. So this is what, to me, Blackhawk is. Blackhawk was the Top Gun program before it was called, Top Gun, so to speak.
Very good. Yep.
That's how it comes down. And he turns around, and now, as much as this is an air squadron, they do a lot of ground fighting tactics, infiltration, spy, rescues on foot. No plane involved, on foot. They had their signature plane. Doesn't mean they couldn't fly other planes, which they did. They flew other types of planes. So it shows you the extent of their their military training. I won't say armies, their military training, Air Force training, and even though they drew some of them out of shape, some were older, but they made up for it. Like one was a sharpshooter. Pretty much he was a sniper.
Yep.
So I know one of the guys was a sniper. Is like, yeah, I ain't got to worry about running too quick. You guys go ahead. I'll stay right here. Okay. So what do? I'm going to walk. We're being chased. Not anymore. But they were, I'll
meet you guys there. Sure.
Exactly. Meet you there. So I'm going to go into this. Here's how, so how would you, what points do you have before we get into adapting this and maybe fan casting it, Rod? What's your points here on that?
My points on it is it's a nice comic in the sense of it's well rounded, like you just said, and I was going to bring it to that point. It's not all about air flight, dogfighting, and stuff like that. They were basically like an elite spy team division, basically needed to infiltrate to get the secrets, come back out, deliver the secrets back out, kind of, back to your government, back to whoever is putting you out on those missions. Whoever you're deploying you on the missions, you need to be able to go out. And again, thinking this is towards the end of, World War II type of scenario, that this is the team that was, you're the elite of elite. You're the top brass. You are the cream of the crop. So we're going to need you to do stuff that no other person can do. Can you do it? Yes. Okay, I'm going to need you to infiltrate, go behind enemy lines. I need you to fly in, make sure you're not detected, because we'll disavow you like Mission Impossible. You got to get the information and get back out. Okie dokie. and that's it. So I take that the team was very unique, and it's a good storyline. We do have stories where we do have characters who do stuff along that line, but it's always maybe individuals. But you have a whole unit that's working as one. That's not that often you have that. Whose sole mission, sole reason to be written and created to be that type of infiltration type of team. And it's not a lone wolf. This is a pack. You're running as a pack.
Exactly.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, they had a lot going on, and I'll say this before we get in a little bit more. So we had Blackhawk, who we said is the leader, and he was Polish, then American. They used to call him Bart Hawk. Okay, that was it. So he's the leader, right? And there's Stanislaus. So Stanislaus was the second in command, right? Mm-hmm. So he was Polish. Stan is initially depicted as like his teammate with various ethnic
distinctions.
So there we go. So that's it. Then you had Chuck. Yep. Chuck is either from Brooklyn or Texas, so they always kind of go back and forth on that. And then there's Ferguson, or known as Hetty, and he was Hetty. He was the oldest member of the Blackhawks, and he was the sharpshooter, right? Then you had Andre. So Andre was this pencil-thin mustache, natural born Savadi. He was the ladies' man. He was the ladies' man. He was the French guy. He was also the demolitions expert. Famous words are "sacre bleu." Then he had Olaf, who was, as I said, a giant of a man. He's portrayed as Swedish, big size, but he said he had poor English, but they used to call him the big dumb Swede, but that was just a stereotype, right? He was a strong man of the team. Then you had Chop Chop, who was originally the Chinese cook, but then became Blackhawk's sidekick, riding on in Blackhawk's plane as opposed to piloting his own. So, once again, times were different. Okay, we're just saying what it is. At one point, when they got more later, they did give him his uniform and put Chop Chop in his own plane. So this is where it comes down to. Yes, they had some funky remix and looks at one point. Blackhawk issue number 230, which came out in March of 1967, had them all in like funky outfits. I guess they were just trying to update their look. So there you go. 1967 had issue number 230. There was a lot of issues. It was a lot. And I don't mean like issues like people, and she got issues, and he got issues. No, it was a lot of issues. Like there's a lot of books to read. So there's key points. I know that one of the soldiers that was part of his team, I think in issue number 8 or 11, was left for dead. They had to leave this person behind, and then he comes back way later on, and he's pissed off, and he becomes a villain trying to bring down the Blackhawk team. So he was with the Blackhawks, and then he decided, that's it. You guys left me for dead. I'm pissed off. I want revenge. He had a Jason Todd moment.
Right.
Exactly. So this brings me to the very loving thing of, Rod, how would you adapt it? I have theories.
You got theories? I would like this one to be an actual movie. Right? I would like to see a live adaptation on this one.
Yeah.
And definitely, as I said, just to get deep into the storyline of the lore of a team and a unit working together. Just trying to remember Deadly Dozen. I think it's the Deadly Dozen the Dirty Dozen, yeah. The Dirty Dozen, sorry, the Dirty Dozen. That is,
yes.
I can say that will be, maybe that, I don't know if that'll be an adaptation of Blackhawks from at least from, when they did a movie of it, but that will be as I thought it afterwards, I realized I'm dead sure there was something, and I stand corrected. I definitely say when I'm wrong. The Dirty Dozen, that was at least another movie where there was working as a team to infiltrate. They were Army. Blackhawk is Air Force. So that's at least you can say each division had their own elite team to do what they had to do. So I would like to see this as a live adaptation. So you can definitely get into the lore of having these elite guys, realizing you can get into how they're so different and how all their different unique styles contribute and help each other out to succeed and become a great team that they are.
I like that. Okay. So the only person we're going to cast is Blackhawks. I mean, I know it's a
big that's team. Exactly it. And that's exactly it. So who I wanted to cast for Blackhawk, I wanted to get was someone a little, who can show up to be a problem, not a problem, but someone you can just look and just say, "Oh, you're gonna hurt somebody." It's going to be, where is this guy? Here you are. I want to have John Bertinel.
John Bertinel.
John Bertinel is we will know him in the world of Marvel as yes. I can see him wearing the old school Blackhawk outfit, leading, commanding, being a tough as nails, getting the mission done. So if anybody's not recognizing who I'm talking about John Bertinel, who plays in Marvel shows as the Punisher.
Yeah. At first I was like, who? And he said it's like, and then he's like, no, yeah, he plays a Punisher. He played Shane in Walking Dead.
Yep.
He even played the brother of Ben Affleck in the movie The Accountant. Because I always make jokes that here we have Batman fighting, Punisher, or better yet, Daredevil fighting the Punisher every time I see The Accountant. Wow.
I would go for that. And then again, we know the other characters are very unique and everything like that. I mean, they can be cast as is, and who's best fitted for the particular role. But for a name that'll at least draw people in and make people wonder, oh, I think I want to see that. Yeah, John Bertinel, please. I'll take that.
All right, touche, sir. Touche. So I'm gonna come on here. I'm gonna hit you with a 1-2 punch real quick. So yes, I agree with you. I would love to see this movie. I would like to see it as a movie, live action. Now, do I need it in a theater release or streaming service release? I'm gonna go streaming service release because I always feel a little bit disappointed when DC takes, or Warner Brothers, takes and they put it on the big screen, because I think sometimes they overdo it and it misses the mark. But when they put it on, let's say, a streaming service, I think it does a lot better. So that's just my opinion. Don't hate me for it. That's what it is. So give it to me like on Amazon. I know, was it the Warner Brothers streaming service, Paramount or whatever the streaming service is kind of going down, or HBO Plus, but give it to me on one of those streaming services. Yeah. Like on Amazon. Amazon can do a really good job with it, with the studio, and have a decent budget that's going to make it fly, so to speak. So definitely give it to me as a movie. I don't think I need a series on it. I think the series might drag it out a little bit too much. Give it to me as a movie, a couple of movies. I'm good with that. Or it's going to be like a limited series, live action limited series, 8 episodes, one and done. But give it to me as a movie. Yeah, I'm still with a movie. So I'm going with a movie, streaming service, live action. It has to come up with new shooting techniques. So just what they did for Maverick, showing some of the dogfights, I want to see things done with that kind of angle. Like we had the technology, let's use it. So I don't want to see the traditional dog fight like they had that TV show. Was it Black Sheep or whatever it was, or Black Sheep, which was another army show dealing with very similar things, right? But that's what it was called. It was called Black Sheep. I remember watching because it had a certain type of model plane on there that I used to love watching when I was, dealing with the military. So anyways, that's what I'm going with. The outfits, no problem. That's easy. Costume design to do. I would say lean on more things. So to play my Blackhawk, I am going, I said Blackhawk. I know someone up there is going to say something funny. Ha ha ha. Is the actor Paul Wesley. So Paul Wesley, a couple of things. I like his look. He's a slimmer guy. He looks like a pilot. He's already got the dark hair. He is a Polish. He's Polish background. He has Polish background. So you can maybe bring some of that into that character. And he was in the Vampire Diaries. He was one of the main cast members from the Vampire Diaries. And he's done other stuff on top of that. So that was who I would have as Blackhawk. Now here's where I get a little bit dirty fighting.
Oh boy.
I would bring in another actor, and his name is Ben Browder. Okay, Browder. So Ben Browder played Blackhawk in the Arrow TV show, but he's older. Okay, I'm not having two Blackhawks. My thing is, I'm going to have Paul Wesley play Blackhawk, and I'm going to have Ben, who's already played Blackhawk, but this time give him a different role as an industrialist. He owns an airplane manufacturing company. Let him be that guy. You have you have a Boeing that's in Montreal. Let him be the CEO of the manufacturer who's manufacturing and supplying planes to the war effort. And he has a couple of experimental planes because he can't join the Army himself or the Air Force himself to help. Let the two of them have a chance meeting where it says, hey, I can't do this, but I need something done. Here's a couple of these planes. I'll supply you with these planes. I found this one island out of view that I can mysteriously have supplies dropped off at to be a benefactor. You just have to follow certain missions. Everything is up to you. I can point you in a direction. You just make it happen. If anything happens, that's you and you alone. And because you are an independent Air Force, you have no association with any government. So anything that goes wrong can't be blown back politically on certain people or governments or put us in embarrassing situations. We can just say whatever. That still keeps in line with his true origin. And he can still say, yeah, we saved up and bought the planes. He doesn't have to tell the other troops how he really got the plane. So part of the story is, where did he get the money from?
Right.
He might tell his troops, what's your first name? Oh my, you know what? Call me Bart. Bart what? Bart Hawk. That's why I go by Blackhawk. And leave it at that. His real name is something different. They can put that part of the story and add to it without taking away from the character. So that's what I'm going. Give me Paul Wesley, Blackhawk. You play a little bit about his origin, play a little bit, tie it in with the other guy who played Blackhawk in Arrow. So that's a little Easter egg for fans. Give it to me as a streaming movie on one of the services. Give me some of the air shots like they did for Maverick with the old school planes, dogfighting that way. Gentlemen, we are done.
Okay. Hey, listen, I'm here checking Paul Wesley. You know who Paul Wesley also plays?
Who's that?
He's Captain Kirk in Strange New World.
That's it. Look, even I don't know everything, but there we go. Yes. Captain Kirk in Strange New Worlds. Thank you once again to the Star Trek universe for helping me out with another one.
Okay.
Long and prosper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And I just, that's how I piece it together in my head. So that's my little bubble there on what.
Okay.
All right. Once again, live long and prosper.
Watch this guy.
I think we do this over Zoom and stuff like that, because if Rod was beside me right now, he would poke me. And he's a very peaceful person.
In your windpipe.
Yeah, exactly. Dash off the windpipe, five across the eyes.
Funny.
Yeah, we got our moments.
No, I wouldn't do that, people. Really, I wouldn't. I'm a nice guy.
He is, but he hit me nicely too. Okay. Rod, man. So yeah, that's my thing. Any last words, guy?
You know what? No, I think we did a good. This was a good show. This was definitely some good information. Everybody was educated and hopefully got some nice tidbits on Blackhawk, myself included. And listen, that's what the show is about. It's not only are you, the listeners, catching some knowledge. Sometimes we just catch some knowledge ourselves by just because we do our own little research on our own and bring our own little flavor to this thing that we call the iConis podcast. And hope you're enjoying it. I know I am. 3 years in, I think we're still good. Let's go. Just saying.
Absolutely. So I'll leave you guys on this, on the iConis podcast. We know the icon is Blackhawks, and we just finished wrapping up that episode. So remember, like, subscribe, and share to our channels, to our YouTube channel, our Podbean channel, please, and put your comments below. We always like interacting with our fans as much as possible. And this whole world was started by a pencil, a piece of paper, and lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming.
Go.
Bombs over. Okay, I'm good. That's right. Andre 3000 comes up with a new album. Come on, let's see what happens on that one.
Let's go.
Have yourself a good night. And once again, Sean, thank you for your service. Take it easy, everyone.
Dave.